Today's story is Away by OpinionatedIMO. The first recognized cases of a deadly mental affliction, aptly titled Away, began in late 2020. In some way, it bore rudimentary similarities to a coma or locked-in syndrome, but there were also some very significant distinctions. Symptoms included an absent countenance and an absolute vacancy in the eyes, as well as no recognition of any external stimuli. Where it was very different than the aforementioned mental conditions was that the patients would speak, smile, laugh, cry, or otherwise react to non-existent things around them. Away syndrome manifested itself as if the patient was fully immersed in a deep schizophrenic state or other world. They were wholly unaware of reality. This fatal disease achieved global reach by mid-2021. Medical research teams scrambled to analyze potential causes for the irreversible condition. Never before had any known psychosis or mental disease been so absolute in its grip on a victim. Once a person fell under the hypnotic spell of Away, they never recognized anything in this world ever again. Onset could be sudden or even instantaneous. Hundreds of thousands of related accidents causing a rising wave of fear and panic in humanity. Airline pilots, bus drivers, or any motorist responsible for the safety of others could suddenly just switch away. Global health professionals studied the possibility of environmental or biological causes. They tracked the rising number of known cases and correlated available data. It was entered into sophisticated computer models to determine if Away was spread through contagious contact with the recently diagnosed. In most of the cases, little or no overlapping personal exposure from the infected to new outbreaks could be located. If reasonable correlation could be found, people could take quarantine measures to avoid new exposure. Instead, the deadly new disease appeared to be completely random, and that was absolutely terrifying. There were troubling instances of spontaneous infection of elderly patients in sterile convalescent homes. That, as well as children with autoimmune diseases coming down with Away while permanently sequestered in airtight, positive pressure bubble rooms. In both extremes, they had limited or absolutely zero exposure to potential carriers. The circumstances strongly ruled out a contagious delivery system. In-depth autopsies performed on deceased patients across the world failed to reveal any reason for the pandemic. The international medical research community was at their wits' end. By 2022, nearly 1/3 of the entire world had been affected by the Away syndrome. They were still no closer to pinning down the source of the elusive disease. With the global economy collapsing under the healthcare strain of 2.5 billion cases of an irreversible pandemic, civility and hope broke down. The infected were put down in record numbers in a heartless but pragmatic goal of conserving resources. There was also an unproven view that the infected were definitely contagious and the sole source of the outbreak. The military powers that be across the planet elected to eliminate what they considered to be the perpetual source of future cases. Despite the mass culling of over 1 billion human beings, the baffling condition continued to spread. That just made them more determined to double down on their futile efforts. Parents, children, and the surviving loved ones of Away begrudgingly relented to the military will of the government to exterminate what they could not cure. Some of the top global experts in search for a solution were eventually stricken themselves. No one was immune. There were still isolated pockets of resistance here and there among dwindling optimists, but even that fell apart once the tipping point was reached. An estimated half of the world were now away. So many of the architects of the mass extermination protocol had become infected themselves that the unethical effort was finally abandoned. Victims of this Omega Plague wandered the streets unsupervised while communicating enthusiastically with unseen companions. Jaded vigilantes and thrill seekers would then shoot or run them over in bored frustration. In fitting twists of irony, it wasn't uncommon for them to also fall victim in the middle of their sadistic quests. The seas and waterways of the planet were filled with bodies of the dead, or soon to be. Unrestrained and unsupervised, those lost to the ravages of Away were like wind-up toys turned loose in every direction. The stench of decay, human waste, and rancid body odor filled the wind in every corner of the world. With each new sunset, more were taken. Less and less were still dwindling in this dying world. What hallucinations did they hear? Who did they see? The fading survivors pondered those depressing questions and awaited the terrifying moment that they too were taken. With every great society on Earth collapsed long ago, the survivors had no way of knowing how many unaffected people were left. It didn't matter. Technology was a thing of the past. It was a distant memory, but in truth, the Away condition picked up speed. Its rate of conversion had progressed exponentially. The last lucid person on Earth was unaware that they were the last. When the end came for them, and every last soul in the world was on the other side of Away, laughing, talking, smiling to each other in a new reality, no one could say which was the real one. All that mattered was that they were finally together again, and no one was away. Hey there, friends. I hope you enjoyed that fantastic story. That was once again Away by OpinionatedIMO. I've actually narrated one of OpinionatedIMO's stories in the past. Name of the story was Read the Signs, and it was a really neat story. I think it was one of the first cryosleep stories I actually narrated. Looking at my list, it might have literally been the first cryosleep story I ever touched, so hey, that's awesome. Thank you, Opinionated, for letting me narrate this story, and thank you for writing it, because it was really well done. If you all enjoyed this video and would like more content like this, or content that is so vastly different it's like comparing water bottles to coffee grounds, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. Doing so makes you part of the Nevermore. You can support the Nevermore growing by doing things like joining my subreddit, following me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or doing things like supporting my Ko-fi and Patreon. All of them optional, all of them appreciated. I hope you're having a fantastic day. That's all. I don't really have much more to say. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're ready for a good weekend. It's Saturday, so the weekend's already here. Crap. Okay, love you guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you later. But next time, that sentence was all disjointed. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Have a good day. See you in the next video. But until then, sleep well.